Hey everyone, welcome to our Tuesday telecast with Nathan over here.
It is I.
Nathan.
That's me.
I'm Lily. I'm Atlas's marketing intern for this fall. And I'm interviewing Nathan, which is really awesome because he's a phenomenal photographer, videographer, and content creator. And he creates like really awesome like shorts
Thank
that
you.
teach a lot of people about cinematography. And check them out because they're really entertaining and informative, and you learn a lot. All right, so I have a few questions for you today.
Thank you, Lily, for that introduction, and I am eager to hear your questions.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So, my first question we'll start off with tell us the story of your filmmaking and photography journey, and how did you get started freelancing and photography?
Some photography. Okay. Um. So I have ADHD, and I want to say like in high school I was trying to figure out like what my career was going to be, what I was going to college for. And I really wanted to find something that I mean, my parents were telling me like go into information systems or in programming, or everyone in my family is a teacher as well, so they're like, hey, there's great things you can do with teaching. And so as a blank slate, as a 18-year-old, I wanted to do something where I could obviously have fun doing it, make money, both important things, but also I loved music so much. I wanted to do something where I could do it and listen to music at the same time. And at that time, like MySpace was like the biggest social media platform, and I saw all these other like touring musicians, and they're touring photographers with them as well. And on the side, they would have their own separate shoots, like in studios and stuff, or getting photos of the band in studios. And seeing behind the scenes, it was like they were listening to music while on set, or like they were obviously on tour making music and stuff. And so I thought, how fun I can listen to music of my favorite bands and artists and do something creative. And so I remember I bought my first camera from Costco. It was like this super simple DSLR, a Canon something, using my mom's credit card with her permission. She was aware that I was using it. And then, yeah, that first year, it was 2009, 2010. I was just taking photos of my sister, my cousins, my friends. And that year, like, I booked my first wedding, just sharing my content on Facebook. And I think this was kind of before, like, influencers were a thing, or content creation was really a viable job. Um, but I was sharing it on Facebook, got some momentum just through word of mouth. And then, fast forward, I did that for like 10 years and kind of jumped into, or kind of fell into, like the commercial and advertising space. I got to shoot for pretty big brands through an agency found me, and then I got booked to shoot some stuff for Toyota, for Chipotle, for American Airlines, some brands that were a dream to work with. But it was also nice doing it through an agency because I could really just focus on the creative stuff. They handled all the paperwork, and they just said like, okay, click acknowledge here, and then we'll get send you all the info. So yeah, that was really fun. Doing photography for that amount of time, and after that, I think I checked off a lot of my like bucket list items, like brands I wanted to shoot with, and even just things I wanted to shoot. I like trying astrophotography for a while, like heading out to Joshua Tree and learning how to take photos of the stars and the Milky Way. I still do that from time to time, but there were a lot of things I wanted to accomplish in photography. I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to do that. And then I don't mean for this to sound like pretentious or ritzy or bougie, but like I got bored with it after a while because checked off so much off my list. And at that time, I had so many friends who were also doing video and filmmaking, and as I saw them doing it, it just seemed so complicated to me. But I reached a point after doing so much photography for so long that I thought, well, what's the next like animal I can tame? And I thought, well, why don't I just bug my friends about learning some video stuff, or obviously similar overlap between photography and videography and filmmaking. And so a buddy of mine said, hey, I'm on set for this show. The production manager's looking for an extra PA. Do you want a PA? And so I said, well, yeah. I just said yes. I didn't even know what a PA was. I like Googled what is a PA and like production assistant. Great. So that's how new I was to this whole industry. And so yeah, I did that for maybe a year and a half, and I learned a lot behind the scenes, and like how sets work, and like what to do and what not to do. how many fun abbreviations there are for things. Like, what's a C-130? What in the world? And it's just really fun. I learned a lot just being a fly on the wall as a PA for that time. And here we are.
Yeah,
I'm a
no.
PA. Just kidding.
That's awesome. No, yeah, I completely understand that feeling of being new to the industry and like learning as much as you can, being like that fly on the wall. And yeah, that's just learning about like C-47s, which are clothespins.
Right.
And it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much lingo. It's like a new language that you have to learn when you first start out. And it's really cool. And I also love photography and astrophotography and want to work more towards doing that kind of stuff, which is awesome. Yeah. Um, so as my next question is, what is your experience growing and learning and adapting in in today's market in this day and age?
Yeah, so there are a number of things that I have learned. I would say the clearest way I'd describe it is I'm still learning a lot of things since things are changing. I'm working right now primarily in like a social media space. I have some clients that I do social media for them as well, but on my own channel, what I do is I'm really focusing on something that's educating, something that people can learn from, but also that's something that's fun. I was really inspired by Bill Nye the Science Guy, where like yeah, I don't know that I would care at all about science or anything related to physics or how the world works on a scientific level if it were not for some silly video I saw on TV of this guy making weird sound effects and actually helping me learn something. And so I wanted to take that same approach to like, okay, I learned some things in filmmaking and cinematography and photography. What are the things that I would want if I was 18 years old again, or even younger, like 15 years old, what would I glean the most from if I were on social media today? And so I kind of like make my audience, at least in my mind, my audience is my younger self. What would help my younger self get to where I am today? Which has proven to be helpful. I've had a number of like DMs from people saying like it's super like I'm interested the whole way through, and I absorbed some information that's helping me be a better photographer or be a better filmmaker in general. And so in as much as they feel value, I feel value too from that interaction because I'm encouraged to do more. If there's anything in addition to that that I'm kind of perceiving about where things are now, I'm really excited about YouTube these days. I'm kind of new to it. I'm mainly on Instagram, but YouTube is kind of a new fun space for me. It's not new. It's new to me because, yeah, there's just more you can share. There's a lot more options, specifically for like long form content. One of the things I'm trying to learn most about right now is storytelling. It's kind of a go-to in the filmmaking space, but it's changing a little bit. And what I see changing more so is really just the pace of storytelling. One of the movies that's come out recently that stood out to me, that really impacted me emotionally, and I would argue like spiritually too, is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
After watching that movie, I felt so seen and heard and understood. And it was one of the movies I watched that I thought, I wish I was a part of making that because it just made me feel so much. And if there's any quote that stands out to me in that same vein, it's that people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And so in my content that I'm sharing online, I'm caring a lot about what I'm making people feel. Like I watch my own before I post it, I'm watching it several times. Like, okay, what's the emotion I walk away with after watching my video? And if it matches the tone and emotion that I would be inspired by as my younger self, then I share it. And so yeah, gleaning inspiration from Everything Everywhere, from Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm really trying to learn as much as I can about a storytelling pace and structure that would make my younger self more excited about learning.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of that. I mean, you mentioning Bill Nye the Science Guy is bringing back like fourth grade memories of just watching him.
So fun.
And the kids in my class would just be like, Bill.
Like,
it's
genuinely catchy.
So excited about it.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, and like our entire industry is storytelling. And the fact that you're like working towards making your short form content be engaging for your younger self, which would be for people my age who are just about getting into the industry and
sure,
like college students, maybe even high school students. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say for a fact, I go to the Rochester Institute of Technology, and there's a lot of students there that love watching your content. And we're all like filmmakers and production kids, and we love watching them. And we learn a
Awesome.
lot from you too, which is really fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Hi, new friends. Hope to meet you one day. That's so cool. Thanks for mentioning that.
Oh, absolutely. And did you ever have like self-doubt? And if you did, what was your method of overcoming it, like within your career journey and working for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. A very, really valuable question. I don't know that I have overcome it, to be honest. And I think it's easy for that thought to be discouraging. Like, oh, this guy that has like thousands of followers on Instagram, he still gets self-doubt. And the reason why I think that's encouraging more than discouraging is, I forget who said it, but maybe several people have said this, I'm sure. But courage is being afraid, but doing it anyway. And I forget that sometimes, but when I am reminded of it, it's like the burst of encouragement I need to continue going, because how many people are my icons that I look up to today, who I might ask them the same question, like, how do you overcome self-doubt, or how do you replace that with something better? And I think, you could also maybe spin it as imposter syndrome, or like, do I actually belong here? Do people care about what I have to say? And I think what I do to replace that is I kind of just use the power of imagination, and I picture, like, if I'm sharing a video online, like I picture it like going well, whatever that looks like. For me, that would be like just getting positive comments of people saying that they were inspired by it, or they were at least entertained by it. So yeah, I picture it going well. The other thing that I use, even just as a mental tool to combat that, is I talk to myself, like I preach to myself. Like, I'm not literally looking in the mirror and saying, "You are so cool." I'm just in my own mind. I'm thinking positively. And again, I think of like my younger self. Like, what is the mentor that my younger self needed? What did my younger self need to hear in order to be encouraged? And I'm grateful that I did have mentors in my life at that time who encouraged me and like said what I needed to hear to get like at least 1% farther along toward my goals. And yeah, as a pragmatic thing, what I actually do is I have Post-it notes on my desk where I spend at least half my week editing or just getting inspiration from other things I'm watching online or on Pinterest to get inspiration. And so I have Post-it notes in different colors and a pen always ready. And the reason I do that is because with my ADHD, with my self-diagnosed ADHD, I just get so distracted, for better or for worse. Sometimes it's a superpower, sometimes it's obstacle. But the way I try to direct it into a superpower is I have Post-it notes. So when I have an idea, I write it down. Or if I have like an invasive thought, like I write down like a replacement thought for it. Like if I hear in my head like "you don't belong here," I write down "you belong here." Like I just write literally the exact opposite. And even if I have it just up on my desk for a day, like I'll take the Post-it note and put it at the bottom of my screen, my computer screen, just as an encouragement. And I think that like the more I've done that, the easier it's been to just kind of swat away the invasive thoughts or the feelings of self-doubt, like where it used to feel like this menacing dragon I had to battle, coming out of the mysterious cave. Now it's just like a fly that is so much easier to like swat away and be like, you have no power here. It's just, it's easier to combat that with something much more positive, productive, and purposeful instead of letting it take over.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, I might actually use that for my like personal like thoughts and processes. Like that's very helpful.
I've not copyrighted it. You're welcome to steal that as much as you want. Yeah.
It's very helpful for us creatives who, working on creative items.
Of course.
And coming up with ideas. It's scary. It's really scary. So
Yeah.
like having those methods is really helpful.
Totally.
And like even you mentioned earlier, it sounds like you kind of like manifest yourself succeeding and doing really well.
Yeah.
And you just like have that vision. Like one thing my dad always told me, he's like, you need to envision yourself being successful, basically.
Mhm.
And he's done it. It's worked for him, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'll try it.
Right.
Yeah, so
It makes a difference.
that's super cool.
Absolutely. Shout
So,
out to your dad. He's doing a great job.
yay! Thanks, Tom.
Good old Tom.
um, and in our past interactions, I know that you're a father and a partner. How do you strike that balance between owning a business and being a father and partner?
Yeah, that's another thing I'm still navigating and trying to figure out. What I have sorted so far is that um, I'm not the first person to say this, but at the end of my life, when I'm 80 or 90 or hopefully maybe 100, um, I'm not really going to care as much about how many trophies I have or how much I've accomplished or how much money I made. I'm gonna be maybe laying in a bed, or maybe we'll have like floating beds by that time. I'll be laying in my floating car
Absolutely.
that
Yep.
doubles as a bed and a house, and who knows what future technology we'll have. And I'll be thinking about my family. I'll be thinking about my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and hoping she's there with me as well, and my son, and however other many kids I have at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And this also relates like to work as well. I think the overlap between the balance between personal life and professional is that relationships matter so much more than stuff. And that's
Mm-hmm.
proven to be true, like even in the work I've been able to get in the last 5 years since I've jumped from photography into more filmmaking, is that in work specifically, when I've just shown up is one thing. Like, hey, there's a barbecue happening. There's some people in the industry that might be there. Like, even if it's just
Mm-hmm.
another PA who knows some producer who might need something in the future. Like, just showing up, being there, showing my face, even if it's just for a few minutes, um, can be 1% improvement or 1% progress toward whatever my goal is, or it
Mm-hmm.
could be like 50 or 90 or 100%. It could be the turning point. So wherever you can, I would say, just show up. The second thing is, yeah, in regard to relationships and striking that balance, I try to, as frequently as I can remember to do so, or preach to myself, remind myself to do so, is uh, is to have a mentality of giving and offering something.
Mm-hmm.
In work, what that looks like is, if a friend needs help with a project, like I have a lot of friends who are actors, like if they need just one or two scenes added to their actors reel, I'll offer to shoot it for them. Like, okay, maybe that's a couple hours in an afternoon that I could be spending, writing another piece of content for myself or sending cold emails to other clients I might want to connect with. But I think it's just as valuable, if not in some ways more valuable, to foster relationships with people to whom you can give something rather than just looking for what you can get. Because I think what that happens for me is, if my mentality is really just like, let me try to connect with people who can get me something or give me a leg up to blank, what that does to my mind and my heart, I would argue, is it puts me in a mentality and a mindset, a heart set that is like, I don't want to say that I'm like a victim to something, or like I am subject to my circumstances, like I am like at the mercy of whoever is going to give me something. Whereas if my mentality shifts to, I acknowledge my value and that what I have is something that is worthwhile to someone else, and maybe that's a conversation for me and my therapist. But if I acknowledge that I have something valuable to offer others, then I can position myself as someone who is ready to give something, even if it's something as small as like just my presence, like just being there as a thumbs up, like encouragement, moral support. Maybe in a more pragmatic sense, like I can offer some of my skill sets to someone to make their production go more smoothly or their reel look better, or even just to be a bounce board so someone needs room to like brainstorm ideas for whatever they're working on. Being someone who's ready to give something. The way that translates to my personal life, I think that even before I met my wife 9 years ago, 9 years ago, what year is it? Just kidding. Um, I'm young and spry. um, the way what that looked the year before I met my wife, I really just I was single. I intentionally just focused on myself and improving my personal relationships at that time after coming out of a breakup uh, at the beginning of that year. So for that year, I spent really just working on myself. And one of the things that shifted in my mind that affected my personal life and professional life is that same mentality. Like I want to be in a position of giving. Like if I'm going to start dating someone or pursuing a relationship with another person, I want to be ready to have something to give rather than trying to seek affirmation or validation from someone else. Because I think, yeah, again, that like assumes that I have some deficiency of some sort, and maybe I actually do, and that's my responsibility. I can't offload that onto someone else or use a relationship as a crutch for that. And so I'm grateful that I had that year. I had some mentors encourage me in that direction too. So grateful for them. Shout out to mentors.
Mentors.
Leaders, yay!
Mentors.
People wiser than me. Yeah, it's really important. Who encouraged me to do that. And so, yeah, I'm sure my wife is grateful for that too. And hopefully my son, once he's of conscious age to be aware of what that even is, he'll be grateful for that also. And yeah, I guess if I were to boil it down to anything, it'd be what's the word? Emotional intelligence, like being aware of like where you are and where you need to go in the future, and getting better at like learning boundaries and where you can and maybe push boundaries as well. That's maybe a deeper conversation than we need to talk about now. But yeah, that's the balance of like personal life and my work. I think yeah, there's the Venn diagram overlap in some ways, obviously, but yeah, I care very much about just focusing on giving rather than trying to get something or being a greedy person or insecure, and overcoming that with being ready to give.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, that's such a great mentality to go into, like, your career and all of your relationships and just ask the question, like, what can I give this person, or what can I help? Like, if I'm showing up, what can I do to help, basically? And also, like you mentioned, like, earlier, like, just showing up to things and just being there no matter what, like, being someone, like, if someone's, like, upset, just, like, being someone that's, like, empathetic toward them or whatever. Like, that's just so helpful because this industry is so full of like connections and like
let's change that.
People.
Let's actually be nice people who actually care about other humans. Yeah, like you would think it'd be simple, but
it's exactly.
Unfortunately rare.
Yeah, guys, be nice. just be nice to people.
Question in the chat.
Oh yes.
What is something Nathan is currently spending time learning in the filmmaking space?
Awesome. So we have a question from the chat. What is something that Nathan is currently working on in the filmmaking space?
Yeah, I think one of them is storytelling. Since we mentioned that, if it's not a storytelling, and that looks like story structure. I mean, like hero's journey or the 3-act or the 6-act structure. In addition to that, it's specifically dialogue. Like I'm trying to also be like a better writer. And I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos and like video essays on YouTube about how to be a better writer. I've been kind of like honing in on Quentin Tarantino specifically recently. I rewatched Inglourious Basterds just last week. And yeah, I think when it comes to writing in particular, I don't know that I consider myself a writer yet, but I am learning how to write. And I have a high regard and respect for people that write well, because it is the people that do it well, when you realize how good it is, you realize how difficult it is to do. And so in learning writing, I am trying to get better at writing dialogue. And specifically, I think there's something powerful about not just what is said, but what is not said. Just kidding. But like, in the same way that, because I have a little bit of a music background, not professionally, but I took piano lessons growing up. I love music, like I mentioned earlier. That was a big part of even just getting into this space, was wanting to look for more opportunities to listen to music. And in music, like there's so much value not just to the notes, but the spaces between the notes, like the pauses between stanzas. And in that same way, in storytelling and conversation or in dialogue, it's not just what you say, but it's what you don't say. What would writers call a subtext, or a show don't tell. And when a character is doing something where it's so much more powerful when you insinuate or you just plant a seed in the mind of the audience that they get it without you having to explain it. I mean, how disappointing is it when we watch a movie or a TV show and the characters just giving verbal exposition for like 5 minutes straight? Like, what's that quote from Madam Web? I don't want to like crap on any particular movie, so I'm not going to quote. But like, yeah, there's a certain arachnid themed movie where someone mentioned their mother in the Amazon. Anyway, it's fun to poke fun at, and obviously it makes for obviously very interesting, what is it, satire, or makes for a lot of fun memes. But yeah, I'm trying to work on making really good dialogue and not just the actual scripted lines for my actors or talent, but even just how I structure scenes to make the exposition much more impactful.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, you're definitely a writer if that's what you're focusing on. Like, that's what makes a good writer.
Cool.
One of the things that makes a very good writer. Oh, don't quote me on that one. No. I'm not a screenwriting person.
Entirely overcome imposter syndrome yet. Pending.
Yeah. Pending imposter syndrome.
At home, I'm going to get a post-it note. I'm just going to write, I am a writer. And then I'm going to put that on my computer.
Yeah. But there you go.
Hey,
I am a writer.
I say that jokingly, but that's actually a good idea. I should do that.
Yeah, go home. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Awesome.
For sure.
Did I just help myself? What?
Yeah. Look at that.
Awesome.
We have another
Cool.
question.
In connection to writing, just follow that. When is it important to represent or recreate something, or just show what's happening? What's the hardest part of writing a script?
Yeah, so question from the chat on a follow-up on that. What's the most important part in writing a script?
Well, this might be an oversimplified answer, but as someone who's also trying to learn it, what I would say is like actually writing. I think, again, I don't remember who said this. I'm gleaning from like a kablamoplasty of a whole slew of things I'm absorbing from what I'm watching online for my own self-study. But what I would say is, actually writing. I think that a script that's badly written is better than a good script that's not written at all. And so I would rather be the person who is, actively writing, even if it's crappy and maybe not worth filming, but I'm exercising that part of my brain to get better at it. And I think that what discourages me from acting on that, from writing, and just sitting down and actually writing or typing something out, even if it's only one page or half a page, is the thought that, well, if I put energy toward this and it's like not good, or I don't do enough of it for it to be worth my time, then it's not worth my time. I'm wasting my energy and fostering more discouragement. But I think I combat that with 1% progress is still progress. And I think that the mentality of like, oh, if I'm not making, if you could quantify this, 25% more progress toward my goal of being a better writer or getting my script done, if I don't finish at least 10 more pages of my feature film, then I'm wasting my time. It's not even worth starting. I think that that does more disservice to your efforts to be a better writer than just I want to say lowering your expectations, but managing them in a way that says, instead of aiming for biting off more than you can chew, really just maintaining a sustainable mentality of like 1% progress. I'm gonna get 1% better at being a writer today, and just do that for 30 days in a row, for 1 month. Then you're at the end of that, you're 30% better. Hey, rather than maybe just being so discouraged about that for the entire month and making 0% progress. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, to that question, the difficult part of writing is like comparison. I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially with social media. Like, I heard social media particularly described as like stepping into an arena where you're just comparing yourself to everybody else. Like, what does my life look like compared to yours in this virtual space? And I think that what helps me combat that the most is community, like having friends in person who help me, who kind of like, without even trying, like pull me out of that mindset. Like, you don't need to compare yourself to blank, to the big icons like Mr. Beast or Emma Chamberlain or whoever else is big on social media. Like, what makes me valuable is not even necessarily like the cool stuff I share or the cool brands I am collaborating with, but it's really me. People can copy what camera I'm using or what LUTs I use or my color grading or whatever other tools or systems I have. No one can copy me. No one else is Nathan. So if someone is shooting their videos on a Sony FX30 and using an Atlas lens on something, and maybe even creating something that's with the same script that I'm working off of, no one's going to tell it exactly the same way that I would, because my heart and soul is put into it. And so I think that helps me overcome the imposter syndrome of writing, or the feeling that like my minimal efforts aren't worth trying. I think I get back into the healthy mindset of like, let me make 1% progress today. Let me get myself around like healthy community and friends who put me in a positive mindset, reminding me to value myself.
Yeah, exactly. Like finding your own voice that you have with writing. That's so important. And you definitely have a voice, as well as many other voices that you put in for your content and everything, quite literally.
All the voices in my head talk to me. No kidding. But yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, you're right. Like in this day and age with social media, like I feel like more people are becoming more isolated because like their feeds
Yeah.
are more toward what they want, and you end up going on your phone a lot. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Like you want to use it for networking and what you do, content
Sure.
creation, but like you also want to be there, be present for
Of
your
course.
family and friends.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so you mentioned like LUTs and cameras and all that kind of stuff. Like what is your favorite gear to work with? Like what do you like to work with, and what would be like your dream product?
Yes. Well, we are streaming on Atlas Lens Co., and I do particularly enjoy Atlas lenses. If I weren't to say that, I would say that it's not a lens that I actively use now, but one that does hold a special place in my heart is the Canon Nifty 50. It's like, what, $100 lens that's like maybe mostly made of plastic, or feels like it's made of plastic. But I remember the reason why that stands out to me is in my days of photography, in like the first 2 years, I was really just getting really messy with it. I didn't know what styles of photography there were. I was just kind of like, that photo looks cool. I want to try making a photo look like that. And I would try practicing with my friends. When I got the Canon 50mm 1.8 photo lens, I was blown away, particularly because it's the widest aperture I'd worked with. So I remember it was my first time like Googling, how do you pronounce bokeh or bokeh? Still don't know. I go back and forth. But I was fascinated by it, and like lens flares were like it was like my first time seeing a rainbow when I just discovered what lens flares could look like in a lens. And it was just, I got so much inspiration from this super cheap, super small, sometimes overlooked lens with my little Costco camera. And I go back to that time because it was a time of like just healthy, fun, childlike discovery and wonder about what is possible. And I'm not thinking about like a shot list. I'm not thinking about a call sheet. I'm just literally picking up my camera and holding it like it's my best friend. And genuinely just having fun with it, getting messy, making mistakes. I would look back at those photos now and think like, I thought that was cool, but I go back to that mindset, and it was really cool for me at that time, and I learned so much from that. Other than that, another piece of gear that's really special to me is the camera that I have now, the cinema camera, my first cinema camera, which is the Sony FX30, and I enjoy it a lot. Where there's a lot of buzz around the big brother of this camera, which is the FX3, the full frame used on the Creator, where Atlas lenses were used on that movie too, and FX3 performs so well in low light, which I enjoy using also. But the FX30 holds a special place in my heart because even though it's the younger brother, it's a smaller sensor. The pros I find with it is like it's more affordable. But two, this is kind of weird to talk about like an inanimate object like this, but I feel like I have an emotional connection to this camera too. Because in the same way that the Nifty 50, which I don't have anymore, I had like 3 of them in the last 15 years, and I've given them all away because I have so many friends that wanted to learn. So just have it. I don't need $100. So it's worth it. But in the same way that I have like this like special childlike affinity for the Nifty 50, I have a similar emotional connection to the FX30 because one, it's my first cinema camera. Two, it's kind of an underdog and not a lot of people talk about it or what you can do with it. Sure, it's not going to have as much like low light capability as the FX3 being a Super 35 sensor. But there's still so much you can do with it. And I love showing off what's possible, what's different about it compared to like a regular like hybrid mirrorless camera. And yeah, I think those are the two that stand out to me that I really, that make me jump in the air and click my heels for joy.
And those are both very good cameras. And you're right, the FX30 is kind of underrated. And sometimes underrated things are what you need.
Yeah, I love rooting for the underdog. So,
Underdog.
like, if you tell me I can't make it cool, I want to prove you wrong and make it cool, you know?
Yeah, no, rooting for the underdog. I completely agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
that's super cool. Yeah, no, and anyone who has Nathan's nifty 50s, well, consider yourself lucky here. Those are legendary.
Right. Keep going. Have fun with it. There's so much you can do with it. Absolutely. I don't condemn it at all.
Yeah. So I saw in a lot of your photos and videos and content you've worked on, you travel a lot. Like, what are some of your places to travel and like take photos of and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I really enjoy traveling. I mean, since becoming a father earlier this year, traveling is more minimal than it was last year or a couple years ago. Golly, a couple of my favorite places to travel to, living in California, it's an even tie between two places. One is Yosemite. It's kind of a go-to, but it's genuinely beautiful. I remember my first time driving into Yosemite Valley. From the south entrance, you drive in about 30 minutes, and you round this corner, and then you just see the largest slabs of granite I've ever seen in my life. And it felt like I was on another planet. Like, it was a genuinely emotional experience. I'm obviously a very emotional person. That's some of the emotional experience I'm having. I'll talk to my therapist about that tomorrow. But it was such a wonderful, magical experience going to Yosemite. Anyway, other people can share the same experience, I'm sure. Even tie with that is Big Sur. I love Big Sur a lot. Also in California. But it's on the coast. It's where, like, ocean meets forest meets waterfalls. And I feel like it, makes me think of Return of the Jedi, where they filmed the Ewoks and all that. Not exactly there, but close to there. And yeah, I just feel whenever I'm in either one of those areas, I feel like my adventurous spirit is revived. My childlike wonder, discovery, thinking about what's possible, my curiosity about life is inspired to ask more questions and to be okay with not knowing the answers all the time. Yeah, those are the kinds of things I experience when I visit those places. If not that, the only other place I would mention is Iceland. I feel like I went there once. With my family, and it was another place where I felt equally like wide-eyed with wonder. Felt like another planet. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan, so like being close to in the same places where they filmed a lot of the Dark Knight or Interstellar was a really fun place to be. I would love to go back with friends.
Can you take me to Iceland, Nathan?
Yeah, let's go right now.
Sweet, we're going to Iceland. Bye, guys.
This video is sponsored by United Airlines. Just kidding.
Oh no, those sound lovely. My friend and I are planning to go to Yosemite later this month, actually,
Awesome.
because we're out here. Might as well check it out.
Absolutely, yeah. A couple years ago, what my friends and I would do was we would go on like day trips. We'd leave at like just before sunrise. Not just before sunrise, like when it's still dark out. We would get to Yosemite Valley at sunrise, take photos until sunset, and then just drive back the same day. Not the most efficient use of fuel or time, but like for those of us who needed to get back to work the next day, it was just a fun way to just get a little bit of adventure in. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited for you to experience it. Or you've been there before, yeah?
No, this
Oh,
is
okay.
actually the first time I've ever been to California.
Oh, great! I'm excited for you
Yeah.
to experience it.
Yeah, no, I'm from upstate New York, and being in California and being here and
Okay.
working at Atlas and talking to Nathan and everything has been like just super cool. But this is about
Amazing.
Nathan, not me.
This video is also sponsored by National Parks of USA. Just kidding.
Yeah, U.S. National Parks. Let's go. So for like, I'm just wondering, like, what advice for people who want to go into like cinematography, photography, or chase their passions, or like go into the freelance world? Like, what advice do you have for people who are interested in what you're doing, basically?
Fantastic question. I love that you asked that. A couple of things come to mind. One is if you can, like, find a mentor. That's not something you can just order on Amazon, but like if you can find someone, you send them an email or a text, or if you can approach them in person without being a creeper, just say, hey, I want to like work for you for free, or like I'll be the guy or the gal who like runs and gets your coffee, or like I just want to like shadow you, learn from you. I've been fortunate enough to have folks who have initiated that to me, like mentors who have initiated that to me and said, hey, I wanna hire you. So I got paid to learn in some instances. If you can do that, that's obviously super cool. But if not that, I would just reach out to people and say, I want to learn how to do what you do, and I want to just be a fly on the wall in your space. If that's not possible, because of geography or maybe whatever barriers to entry you might encounter, if not that, advice I would give is, yeah, if there's any skill I've found the most valuable in the last 5 years in filmmaking and last 15 years behind a camera in some facet, I would say like developing like a resourcefulness is really really valuable, because what's afforded me a lot of opportunities is just having a diverse skill set. And I think I've been able to acquire a variety of skills. As a PA, I was a grip for a year. I've had a variety of roles on like photo sets as well. I remember like I was maybe 6 months into being a PA, and someone asked, like, kind of to the group, does anyone know how to run a soundboard? Like, does anybody know how to like just connect sound? And like I did that when I was really young. Like I was, youth group days. I just would hang out in the sound booth next to this middle-aged guy. He showed me how to turn the knobs and plug things in. So if you can diversify your skill set and make yourself more marketable, and develop like a resourcefulness, even if you don't have access to the professional things, like, okay, I know what the professional things, how they function, and I can finagle something to get MacGyver something together. I think that's a really valuable, which is filmmaking. You're problem solving all day long on set. And that if you're able to do that and think on the fly, it takes practice. It's not necessarily something that's innate. It's something you can learn and practice at. And learning resourcefulness is going to get you farther than being the richest or being the most connected. I think it's going to give you a lot of opportunities when you just position yourself to be someone who's valuable with resourcefulness to problem solve on the spot. Yeah.
Yep. Always staying aware, always finding the issue before it happens,
Right.
and just being on your toes, and I don't know, bringing positive energy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
is
attitude
always
makes a huge
important.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's cool. Yeah.
Another question coming in, talking about freelance, how does one generate work leads?
All right, we have a question from our chat, and it's about freelancing. And the question is, how does one generate work leads?
I love that question. Yes, I was wondering the same thing, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. What's worked for me, it worked for me at that time, but I think it'll work now. One is cold calls or cold emails, which I'm an outgoing person, so it's easy for me to say and do. But I know there's some people who are maybe more introverted where that would be a significant obstacle to overcome. But if you can and you have the bandwidth for it, I would say, just send an email. Hey, here is me. Here's a link to my website or my Instagram page. Or my YouTube channel. I'd love to make do a shoot for you for free if you like it. Maybe we can talk about going on retainer, or you hiring me for more marketing material for you if you're talking to a business. What I would pair with that is, instead of waiting for work to come in, let's say you're starting out, someone who maybe doesn't have a portfolio yet, I would say just make one. And what that looks like is, in the industry, we would call it, making a spec ad or doing a spec shoot. And that is like, the way I approached it was I would just look for something in my house that I genuinely like my shoes. I don't know, if I have a pair of Nikes on, let me just get one of my friends together who is, maybe they're a content creator too, or maybe they're just a friend from school who likes running or plays basketball or something. And let me just grab my camera, even if it's just my phone. Let me make this like spec ad, like this 15-second video of like some camera moving around their shoes. And then I don't know if it's legal to add the Nike logo at the end, but if even without that, just getting some footage together, putting that on YouTube, and then having that as part of your portfolio. If not that, like a photo shoot, doing a spec shoot with friends. Like maybe it's not your shoes, maybe you have a favorite drink, like you like LaCroix. La Croix, and like make a spec ad or a spec photo shoot for that, or Pepsi, or whatever your favorite drink is, or um, you could even walk into like a mom and pop, like a local business, say, hey, can I just make a quick social media video for you? It'll take 15 minutes, or maybe I'll be here for an hour, and I'll give it to you for free for you to use on your own marketing. And it's kind of like a no lose for them, and or you could think of it like a win-win. You get something to use for your portfolio, and they get something to use to market their business. That's afforded me a lot of opportunities. Third thing, last thing I would say is, just share as much as you can on social media as frequently as you can. Maybe aim for like once a week, if not that, like maybe once a month while you work at like your day job, to promote your business on the side. That helps a lot because I want to say at least half the work that I have consistently today is from, if not more than half, is what I'm just sharing on Instagram and Facebook. That's pretty valuable still. People have found me through that.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I'm gonna take that advice actually.
Good.
Like make my own
Yeah.
like spec commercial and just like reach out and be like, hey, I have this, and this. Do you want this
Right.
advertisement or whatever? I think that's incredibly important and
Yeah,
really
I think
good.
it's super fun also because like there's no pressure of some producer hovering over your shoulder or some creator. Not that that's a bad thing. Some producers are great and some creative directors are a blast to work with. But it's nice to practice it without the pressure of someone keeping you to a schedule or a shot list. Like you're just going out and creating something, initiating it on your own, and even more fun if you can do it with your friends. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe sponsored by Yosemite National Park. I can
Right,
make a little
yeah,
film about
yeah.
that.
They're making some social media content too. I mean, TikTok's blowing up, so there's lots of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's I think one of the national parks social medias I've seen like the rangers do
They're
like really funny
hilarious.
skits on
I
some of
love
them.
park rangers who are bound to make a little funny video. Absolutely, it's so fun to watch.
I
Yeah.
forget which park does it, but they've showed up on my Instagram and I'm like,
Yeah.
this guy's wrong. What the
I
heck?
see the same thing. I'm like, yeah, way to go, guys.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Oh, so you talk a lot about like being like, I don't know, sorry. You talk a lot about your inner child and like doing stuff that younger you would enjoy.
Yeah.
So with that vein, what would you say to your like 17-year-old self or like maybe even your 14-year-old self? And yeah.
Okay. This might sound cheesy, but it's genuinely what I needed to hear at that time. I think, wow, I'm actually picturing that. That'll be trippy. Okay, if I was sitting here across from like my 17-year-old
Okay.
self, I would say that like you are capable of accomplishing great things. That sounds like a quote from Pinterest or something you would see on the wall of Cracker Barrel or something, but like that's really what I needed to hear at that time. I think I had so much doubt. I had so many other voices and mentors encouraging me in a particular direction that came from a good place. I'm not upset about anyone for it came from a good place. But the advice and direction I needed at that time was some level of acknowledgement of like the creativity I had in me, and like how different I was. For a little context, like I mentioned earlier, everyone in my family is a teacher in some capacity, or has some technicals. Like my aunt is an accountant, my dad's a teacher, mom's a teacher, and some other leaders in my life were encouraging me to like look into engineering, or IT, which are admirable skills, but it just wasn't in me. Like I was the guy that wanted to like paint a mural on my wall. Like I wanted a job where I could listen to music and do something really artsy fartsy that not a lot of my family members understood. And so what I would say to my younger self is, you have something special in you that is different from where you are in your environment now, but it's so valuable, it's so worthwhile. And I think that what a lot of people were telling me, or what was in my mind for one reason or another, was that marketing or anything visual or artistic wasn't was like too, what's the word, like viable of a career, non-viable, volatile is the word I'm looking for, too volatile of a career. And what I would say to that is I understand where they're coming from, and in some ways it is, but like even on a personal level, like when the going gets tough and like tragedy happens in life, I'm not thinking about like a spreadsheet or even my like next paycheck necessarily. Like a lot of people, when they're experiencing heartache or difficult times, like poetry means so much more. Their favorite movie helps them, have some sense of like hope or encouragement, or seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, or listening to a song can turn someone's life around as well. Like, I think when it comes to the arts and creativity, and even historical accounts of, what is it, Disney or animated studios that were outlasting through the Depression. Like some level of entertainment, as shallow as it might seem in some contexts, is actually really valuable, if not more valuable than some other facets, where there's something important about money making, of course, but as a human who wants to have a healthy mind and heart and experience as a social being, I think it's important to acknowledge the value of art. And I would say to my younger self, like, the art that you're interested in is really valuable, and develop as much of a vocabulary as you can in describing what that is, so you can hone in on that skill. It's really valuable.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I mean, I know for a fact that when I'm feeling sad or just like upset, or my thoughts start spiraling, or like the voices in your head just kind of like kill you or whatever,
Yeah.
music is where I go. And that's created by artists, and like even like movies. Like, you go watch your like favorite TV show, and it's like, maybe you want to watch a comedy to get like a laugh, and like there's artists, like people like Nathan and I guess me. Yes, me. I am. And then everyone here, like Atlas, like we have a lot of creators here as well. And it's just like, we make stuff that makes people feel. And that's like really important.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a difference. It makes a difference whether you have it or don't, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. So speaking of music, this is just kind of like a random question that I was just curious. So at the end of all your stuff, you say like, go ahead and make something golden, which made me think of the Harry Styles song Golden. Have you heard of that song?
I have heard of that song. It's very fun. Yes.
Yeah, that's just like a random question that I thought about asking.
So Harry Styles, if you want to collaborate on my next video,
yeah,
DM me.
Yeah, Harry Styles, we got a really good one. All right.
If you don't have enough followers, I can give you some of mine.
yeah, for sure. I'm sure he'll love that. Any other questions from the chat at all? No? Awesome.
How thorough we are answering them all.
Woo! And maybe we'll go with the last question. What inspires you the most?
What inspires me the most? It certainly changes from time to time, depending on what season of life I'm in. At any given moment, it could be okay, I guess I'll answer it in three ways. In general, in my life, whether I'm thinking as a DP or as a content creator, whatever, as a photographer or whatever, I am usually inspired by music. Oftentimes, I'll discover a song on Spotify, or someone will show up on my YouTube channel. I listen to music on YouTube sometimes. Or a friend will send me a song, and I will like picture a scene unfolding while listening to that song. Or just get some kind of visual that I want to recreate in a photo with a friend or a group of friends. So music is an all-encompassing thing that's genuinely very inspiring for me. If it's not that, like, I'm inspired by, if I were to create something for a movie or a TV show in a particular genre, I really enjoy, what's the word? Retro-futuristic cyberpunk? Is that? I mean, that's a lot of adjectives just smashed together. But huge fan of, like, Blade Runner, that Star Wars series, Andor. I think that was shot on anamorphic lenses also. Anything that is kind of like mesh. Oh, a series I really enjoyed, a miniseries, was Maniac. I think it's still on Netflix, with Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. That was really fascinating for it kind of hopped genres, but like the through line theme wise was retrofuturistic. And so, if there's anything I want to create in the near future that I'm inspired by, it's something in the style of retrofuturism. I grew up watching the Batman animated series, so like that deco art that's kind of dark, but still kind of playful at moments, is really inspiring for me. My current wallpaper on my computer is like deco art. I really like that art style. Apart from that, the last thing I would mention that I get inspired by is conversations. Like conversations I have with friends, with my wife. My son isn't talking yet, but like he makes enough sounds to make me inspired about like what sounds are possible through the human experience. But yeah, conversations with friends. I feel like I enjoy having conversations, not just with the people with whom I agree, but even having conversations with people who have the opposite political opinion of me, or from another religion, or from another like background or walk of life. I think is really powerful, because I think that just not to sound too political, but like we have more in common than we have different among us. I'm not a huge horror fan. I've watched a handful of them, maybe from Jordan Peele primarily, but if there is someone who's a horror fan and wants to recommend a horror film to me, I'm totally open to talking about what is their favorite part of that horror film. There's something I can glean from that, and something we can share together through that as well. So I would say, yeah, just conversations with people who are different than me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, especially with the music thing, like I kind of see the same thing. Like I'll listen to my favorite songs and I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be really good for like a specific scene in a movie.
Yeah.
And to the point where I actually have a playlist. I call it my Needle Drops playlist, where I just put all the songs I've listened to.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, this needs to be in a movie. This needs to be in a specific movie scene.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just listen to it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, conversation is so important, and just being open-minded and just hearing everyone's perspective on life is always very fun. And you do learn a lot.
Totally, yeah. Amazing. I feel like I've expanded my horizons so much just by whether initiating or having a conversation initiated with me with someone that I wouldn't have talked to otherwise. I think it's really important to be open.
Yeah, reach out, say hi, you know.
Yeah. Even if it's awkward or messy. Like
Oh,
I think a lot of the fear is that what if we run into not writer's block, but like conversation block? Like I don't know what else to say. Like that's okay. Just like, okay, thanks for talking. Bye.
Yeah.
And like see ya. I think that like it might feel awkward. It might be a weird interaction, but I think that, again, to what we mentioned earlier, like the more you do it, the better you'll get. You can only get better at it. And the worst that'll happen is like maybe you'll have an awkward interaction that you'll think about at 3 a.m. when you're taking a shower, and and you'll be replaying the conversation in your head. But that's okay. There are ways to overcome that, and I think that the risk of trying is more worthwhile than the risk of not trying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's scary. Like I was scared to do this telecast. I'm gonna be real. I was like, oh
And
my
look at you,
gosh.
you're doing great. And here, you're
Thank
still
you.
alive, and you're thriving. How great, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm still alive. Randy hasn't killed me yet, actually.
Randy?
Yo, Randy, do you have anything to say?
Our new friend, Randy.
Yeah, he's just been watching us the whole time. He agrees. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just got to go out there and you got to talk, and you got to just put yourself out there. I mean, I used to be really scared to do that because like I was like a huge introvert when I was younger, and then I did theater, and I was like,
Cool.
oh, okay, so this is what you do. And then
Yeah.
it just kind of gradually, I made myself like just force myself to go out and just do things and just put myself in that space and just go up and talk to that person and ask them. And I mean, like you said, if it's awkward, it's awkward. Like you're going to have awkward conversations.
Yeah.
That's just part of the gig.
It'll give you more writing material for the next scene you want to write, or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
Like,
A win-win.
yeah.
And if you're not like, if you have trouble like talking, not everybody's a talker, not everybody's the best conversationalist per se. There's a lot of value, if not more value, to just listening as well. Like maybe just practice like asking certain questions, even if they're small talk questions. They can expand to more deeper conversations too. There's a lot to be said for what you can get from a relationship, or how much you can foster opportunities you can get for yourself by just being a good listener too. So if you find yourself being really introverted and getting drained from social interactions, just being a good listener can help manage that well enough where you're not exhausted after every interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that's good advice. I mean, just listening is half the battle. Like, because you don't want to hear yourself talk the whole time. You want to listen to other people's like perspectives.
Unless
and
you're a
ideas.
narcissist, in which case group therapy starts next week. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. Just kidding.
BetterHelp and group therapy. That'll be the next Tuesday telecast. We're just gonna pull therapists up here.
Why not?
No, this has been so nice. I mean, I don't know exactly. We're at 12:30, give or take. So like, yeah, we're pretty much wrapping things up. I mean, I don't know if you have any
Awesome.
other advice or things you want to say to our viewers?
Yeah, I guess this is a little bit niche, but something that I'm discovering about myself is that, and this affects my personal and my work life, is that I think I have ADHD. It's not like clinically diagnosed. I haven't taken the what is it, like a 3-week long test you can take sometimes. But I think at one point I answered a little questionnaire online. Everything you read on the internet is true. Just kidding. But I do have, I suspect that I have some tendencies that align with someone that has ADHD. And I think it's like that, or if you have dyslexia or something where you feel like it's an impedance to, or some obstacle that keeps you from reaching the same goals as the people you look up to, or living the same type of life that you see people living on social media. One is that if that person's struggle isn't the same as yours, it's going to be just something different. There's always going to be an obstacle and something that makes you feel like you can't fill in the blank, whatever your goal or dream is. And I think for me, if anything, it's ADHD. I find myself really distracted, or having a difficult time like just concentrating on one thing for an extended period of time. One thing I learned, that my parents learned about me when I was young, is that although my sister could sit down with a subject for 1 hour, take a quiz at the end and pass it, I had to have the subject changed every 15 minutes. And this is like 3rd, 4th grade. But like me, 20 years later, I'm still having a similar mentality. Granted, my attention span is a little bit longer than what I was in 3rd grade. But what I want to say about that is it would be really easy for me to think about ADHD or some other way my brain doesn't work the same as the average person, as an obstacle, as a disability, as a hurdle. But I could just as easily redirect that attention and energy towards seeing it as a superpower. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there and you feel like there's something innate in you that's just different and weird, I think that I wouldn't see it as something that's in the way as much as it is the thing that makes the way for you. I think it can be a superpower. It can be what makes you different, and make bring you closer to where you want to be and who you want to be and what you want to be doing. So I wouldn't shirk it or condemn yourself for it. I would embrace it and think of it as a superpower. I think it's really, really powerful.
And it definitely is a superpower. I mean, our lenses, the anamorphic lenses, originally were like crafted, and people were like, I don't know about these flares. I don't know how this feels. Like, it just wasn't thought of, like, that their specific characteristics weren't like important. They're like, oh, there's something wrong with this lens. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we use them here. We make them here at Atlas, and people use them, and they think they're gorgeous flares. So like, just like you said, like if you like have ADHD or dyslexia, like that's such a powerful thing to have. You just got to make the most of it and embrace it,
Yeah, the imperfections oftentimes become the thing that that make you stand out in the best way. Certainly,
Yeah, so...
Way to go, anamorphic.
Yeah, anamorphic. Own your imperfections. Anamorphic. Yeah, exactly.
Super cool.
Cool.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate
no problem.
you, Lily. You're
Thank
awesome.
you.
You have wonderful questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I'm excited for you to experience Yosemite. I'm eager to see the photos when you come back.
Oh, yeah. Well, there'll be a video. Now, I'm saying this on the telecast. You guys got to look out for a video.
Super fun.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah,
we'll
thank you.
This is every Tuesday.
Yeah, every Tuesday, 11:30.
So I might not be here, but someone from Atlas will be here talking about some cool stuff in front of the camera and hopefully inspire you to go and create something for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Dun dun dun.